had room to continue cutting rates. I'm Nancy Marshall-Genzer for Marketplace.
We also see a surge this morning in the bond market, pulling the 10-year interest rate down to 4.29%. Here's economist Julia Coronado of Macro Policy Perspectives.
That is very likely tied to the news over the weekend that favored the Harris campaign. So I think probably for markets, one of the bigger pieces of news was the Iowa poll, which showed Harris ahead in Iowa, which nobody expected. It at least shifts the probabilities towards the Harris camp, and that's moving the bond market in a big way this morning.
Coronado has told her clients to follow individual campaign donations by small donors as a metric of voter enthusiasm. Markets S&P futures are up 0.2%, Dow and NASDAQ futures up 0.1%. A consumer survey by Bankrate found that about half of respondents started holiday shopping before November even rolled in. Here's Marketplace's Kaylee Wells.
There's the short-term answer and the long-term answer. Short-term, Thanksgiving is late this year, so the traditional holiday season is shorter. Analyst Sky Canavis with eMarketer also says this year companies bought holiday inventory early
as part of their planning for the potential port strikes. And once retailers have inventory on hand, they might as well start trying to move it,
because they don't want to risk having stuff left over in January. Dana Olson, who teaches retail marketing at Indiana University, says the long-term answer harkens back to the pandemic when supply chain issues created a sense of urgency and scarcity.
And we were told that as customers, if you want to buy this item, you better buy it now because we might not get it back in stock.
And the pandemic eroded the Black Friday traditions, too. Retailing professor Patricia Huddleston at Michigan State University says now those deals can just happen earlier.
In order to continue to get consumers to shop, retailers will offer discounts or special pricing or sometimes limited edition products, too, because that will bring people in.
She says the earlier, longer holiday season is likely here to stay, but she doesn't expect it to get much earlier than September. That season still belongs to summer vacations and back to school shopping. I'm Kaylee Wells for Marketplace.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Progressive. Progressive Commercial Auto Insurance protects the cars, trucks, and vans that work to keep small businesses moving forward, including protection while running errands and other tasks. More at progressivecommercial.com. And by Schwab. Schwab offers investors choices like full-service wealth management, self-directed investing options, and trading on Thinkorswim. More at schwab.com.
The latest report from Northwestern University Medill on the state or the plight of local news in America finds more counties, 208 of them now, are without a legit source of local news. In the last year, 127 newspapers have closed. That number is up to 3,200 in just under 20 years. Some of this is the internet and social media. Some of it is corporate consolidation, often far-flung companies buying up local news sources, then cutting. In Wyoming, 3 big firms own half the local newspapers, and staffing isn't what it used to be. Wyoming Public Radio's Melody Edwards looked at one community.
Back in April, Sublette County, Wyoming made headlines when a local man brought a wolf into a bar, muzzled and injured. He'd purposefully run over it with a snowmobile and later killed it. Hunting wolves is legal in most of Wyoming, but many saw it as animal cruelty, and it was immediately an international story. Callie O'Hare, editor of the local Pinedale Roundup, says she was so busy covering other events that other media beat her to it. She's made up for lost time.
We've covered it in great detail, and I've been boots on the ground for that.
Her publisher is News Media Corporation, which owns more than 150 publications in 5 states. The company laid off both of her reporters last winter. Since then, O'Hare's been running the 120-year-old weekly newspaper by herself. The company didn't respond to numerous requests for comment. O'Hare says she really wished she'd had an editor for such a major story.
It does make me nervous not having another set of eyes reading over my stuff. So I tend to read over it until I'm cross-eyed.
It was an important and ongoing local story, too. When protesters came to town against the treatment of the wolf, they clashed with residents. And O'Hare felt threatened.
I want to have a conversation about what happened. I went to that protest with a gun on my hip, a knife in my pocket.
When local news contracts, it creates a vacuum.
That's Steve Waldman, the president of the media advocacy group Rebuild Local News. Waldman says Studies show real harm to communities from the collapse of local journalism, especially in rural areas.
People don't have the information they need to decide who to vote for or to know what's going on at their school.
And even when legacy papers do survive, they often turn into what Waldman calls a ghost paper.
It's still printing, it still has words and some pictures, but it is cut way back on local reporting.
O'Hare is fighting to keep the Pinedale Roundup from becoming a ghost paper. She's still covering the wolf story as the state decides whether to take action. And she's still covering things like the Little League.
Because, of course, now I'm a sports reporter, too. I pay the bills to keep the lights on and the rent, the gas, the trash.
And she does it all for $41,000 a year.
The 9 a.m. City Council session for November 4th, 2024 is hereby called to order, and I'll ask our esteemed clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Volleson is absent today. Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Here.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Here.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Here.
Vice Mayor Cobb?
Here.
Ms. White Boyd?
Here.
And Mayor Lee?
Here, and the quorum is present. Let me just say that city council meetings will be televised live and replayed on RVTV Channel 3 on Thursdays at 7 o'clock p.m. and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. and video streamed through Facebook Live at facebook.com/Roanoke VA. City council meetings are offered with closed captioning for the deaf or hard of hearing. All right, at this time, I'm going to recess our council meeting for our legislative committee meeting. And with that, I will turn the meeting over to Councilmember Whiteboard to facilitate the legislative committee meeting. And following that, we'll reconvene the council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, all, and we're going to wait until Ms. Werner gets situated. I just want to say good morning and thank you all for being here. This meeting is not going to take very long. We've already listed our legislative priorities. We've gone over it again and again and again. I think we're in a good place, and we'll take a look at any changes if need be. Are you set, Ms. Werner?
I am, thank you.
Okay, well, we're all set. Let's go ahead and get started. Ms. Werner, if you don't mind, call the roll for me, please.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Sanchez-Jones? Here. Mr. Fitzpatrick? Here. Vice Mayor Cobb?
Here.
Ms. White-Boyd?
Here.
Mr. Volleson? Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Here.
Ms. Quintana? Ms. Quintana?
Here.
Ms. Saunders Cotton?
Here.
Mayor Lee?
Here.
And a quorum is present. So again, thank you all for being here. We're not going to take much time on the legislative agenda because we have gone over it thoroughly. You should have a copy of it, and if you see anything that needs to be corrected, please let me know now, because this is our final draft. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at it? I think the city attorney, Mr. Spencer, said it went out a few days ago. Do y'all want to, because I just hate to go through 25 pages line by line, but if you want to take just a minute, Ms. Quintana and Ms. Saunders, Kathleen, have you all had a chance to look at it? Everything okay still on your end? Perfect. Perfect. Dr. Patton, do you see anything that needs to be updated or changed on your end as far as the priorities that came from your department heads?
I do not see any changes that needs to be made, and have worked very closely with our city attorney in reviewing this process.
Okay. If you see something, we can come back, but I would like for a motion to approve the minutes from the October meeting. They were also sent out electronically, and you have a copy with you today.
Second.
And we will accept the minutes as written. We do have, do we have somebody here, Tim, our liaison?
Yes, President Bryant.
Oh, Mr. Bryant is here, okay. Mr. Bryant, I talked to Mr. Spencer briefly this morning, and we are still working on getting some sponsors for some of our priorities, and I'm sure you will keep us updated on that. We hope that we will get some assistance with some of these priorities. We know that it's loaded this year. Our senators and legislators will not be able to carry them all, so we're certainly going to need some assistance from you in helping us to get some sponsors. Is there anything you want to say this morning to us?
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. Mr. Spencer and I have talked a number of times. We have a strategy that is we've put together, and once the committee adopts and finalizes the agenda, Mr. Spencer and I will follow up and continue working on sponsors for a number of these items.
Thank you. Like I said, there's not a lot to be said at this meeting. We have gone over it. I think this is our third meeting, and we're in a good place. And thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Spencer, for your work. Thank you to all of the members of the Roanoke City School Board, Dr. Patton and your staff. Thank you all for getting these items together. And it's a concise list. It's a good list. It's a heavy list. We're asking a lot, but we need a lot. And so we're going to be depending on our sponsors and Mr. Bryant to work that out. If there is no discussion, and I will pause for a minute if you have any. I see Mr. Fitzpatrick smiling at me. You just a happy fella this morning, or you got?
I'm just glad to be here. Good to be alive.
Good to be alive. Well, I don't want us to feel rushed. Ms. Moon Reynolds, anybody got it?
No, ma'am.
Everybody good? Ms. Sanchez-Jones, we're all good? If we're all good, then I am going to ask that we adopt this final list of priorities for our legislative agenda for 2024-2025.
Second.
Ms. Warner, do we need to call the roll?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Sanchez-Jones? Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cobb?
Aye.
Ms. White-Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson? Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye. and the legislative agenda passes. So I'm glad that we got that.
If we could also.
Oh, you got
Ms. Quintana? Aye. Ms. Saunders Cotton? Mayor Lee?
All right, am I called?
Yes, I think they called you. She's got a low voice.
Mayor Lee?
Okay, I'm in that hard of hearing too. We have to do
Sorry.
that.
Wait till you get a little bit older.
I think we have all voted unanimously to adopt the 2024 legislative agenda, and I am truly grateful for all the work that everyone has done. And we look forward to hearing back from our legislators to see how well we fare. Thank you so much, everyone. There is no other business, and so the legislative committee meeting is adjourned at 9:08. That is a record.
It's only because of having a good chairman.
I think something else is intended by that. But
No pun intended, Mayor. That is a record.
Okay.
We are all over this legislative agenda, and I am truly excited and looking forward to what we get back from our legislators as far as accomplishments and what we can get through. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chairperson. All right, we will call our council meeting back in session.
Thank
And,
you. Appreciate you guys.
All right, the first items for action today is a communication from the mayor's office requesting that council convene in a closed meeting to discuss vacancies on certain authorities, boards, commissions, and committees appointed by council pursuant to section 2.2-3711 Code of Virginia as amended. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cobb?
Aye.
Ms. White Boyd?
Aye.
And Mayor Lee?
Aye, and the motion passes. Thank you. There's a communication from Council Member Patricia White Boyd, Chair of the City Council Personnel Committee, requesting that the council convene in a closed meeting to discuss a personnel matter being the performance of a council-appointed officer pursuant to section 2.2-3711 Code of Virginia. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Mr. Fitzpatrick? Vice Mayor Cobb?
Aye.
Ms. White Boyd?
Aye.
Mayor Lee?
Aye, and the motion passes. Thank you. A communication from the city attorney requesting that council convene in a closed meeting to consult with legal counsel regarding actual and threatened litigation, where such consultation or briefing in an opening meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body pursuant to section 2.2-3711 Code of Virginia as amended. I need a motion.
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Mr. Fitzpatrick? Vice Mayor Cobb?
Aye.
Ms. White Boyd?
Aye.
Mayor Lee?
Aye, and the motion passes. There's another communication from the city attorney requesting a closed meeting for the purpose of discussing disposition of publicly owned property, where a discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body pursuant to section 2.2-3711 Code of Virginia as amended. I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cobb?
Aye.
Ms. White Boyd?
Aye.
Mayor Lee?
Aye, and the motion passes. Thank you. Are there any items listed on the council docket for 2 o'clock requiring any further discussion or clarification? I don't think there are any topics for discussion by the mayor or members of council. All right, briefings. We have no briefing today, so this council meeting will be in recess until 2 o'clock this afternoon as we go into closed meeting in the council's conference room. All right, thank you.
Clothes, all of it donated, and there's also a classroom where English classes take place, and you can come here and get advice on immigration law.
I just had a woman come in